Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Friday. It's July 14th. It's 2023. We have 14 baseball games to talk about here on today's podcast. I'm joined by my good buddy, Will Priester, ChiefJustice06. Chief, the break is over. I feel great. I mean, not working for a few days always does really good wonders for your mind, I think, more than anything else. A little bit of extra sleep is always good for your health reasons, but not not like um not like sweating and like stressing out about slates and stuff and all that stuff. I mean, I feel like it's good for a mind to take a break every once in a while. So feel refreshed and I'm pumped, man. I'm ready to be back and talk some good old fashioned baseball with you, my friend.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I definitely think it's advantageous when you're in the content space to take those breaks. And it's a lot harder when you're in the middle of the grind. Like you may want to take one day and it's like, no, not today. Because sometimes a slate will look good. You know what I'm saying? You'll feel really comfortable just off kind of a first look. And so you may say, well, I'm going to schedule to take the day off. And then you end up involved in it. But when you have the All-Star breaks, man, it's good to step away. I went out of town, with my son and the family for a little bit. He had a basketball tournament. So that was like right at the end, like starting last week. But when we got off the pod Friday, or when I got done with Take Your Pick 'em Friday, that was kind of it for me for the most part. Like I didn't really do any work. And then today I kind of hopped back in, just to kind of get my mind back recharged. But I was glad to have some time off. I definitely slept later. Like one day I think I slept until, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock. And that's not something I do. Like I'm kind of an early bird. I get up 6:37. And so to be able to do that, I think that was very refreshing, especially coming back from the trip. Needed that rest and relaxation. So I do feel good. I think my mind's going to be sharp, and hopefully that translates into increased profitability right out of the gate for me, you, and everybody else.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the All-Star break. The Home Run Derby was phenomenal. The All-Star game was great. I didn't watch the end of the All-Star game. I fell asleep. I ended up watching the rest of it the next day. I felt even good. I felt good about that. I can't tell you how many times in the last 4 months since NASCAR season has started that I have gone to sleep before midnight on any night. So it felt good to catch up on a little bit of sleep. Got some stuff done around the house, which is always good. And yeah, man, I'm pumped to be back today. I recorded the Running Hot NASCAR podcast that I do on Action Network with RotoDoc, and we recorded that earlier today. There's the first time my computer has been on since I did the NASCAR show Saturday night. So
Yeah.
finished out some work on Sunday and build some lineups on my laptop on Sunday for NASCAR, but that was the first time in a long time I've been off my actual computer for that many days. But yeah, excited, pumped to be back. We're going to talk some baseball. What's up, YouTube? Hope everyone's having a fantastic Thursday night. I see some people over there talking about good to hear that music. You don't know how much you miss the morning grind music until it hits that first thump. It gets you going. But we got a
Yeah.
lot to talk about. 14 games. We're going to jump in. We're going to have some fun. We got Miami at Baltimore to get started here. It's an 8.5 total. Baltimore's a 122 favorite. Alcantara and Kramer face it off against each other. There is some weather concerns on a few games. I'm going to leave that to Kevin Roth. We're going to break all these games down like we normally would. So let's get started here with Alcantara all over the place the first half of the season. Do you have any interest in him in this spot against Baltimore?
Man, I feel like I'll take a shot because of the price. I think that's what it is, dude. 6,800. The reason he's been all over the place, he's been hittable. Like last season, even if he wasn't getting strikeouts, he was limiting the damage, ball on the ground, quick outs. Eating through innings quickly, and we haven't really seen that for most of the season. Hopefully, the break did him well as additionally like it did us. But it's still just a price play. I'm not expecting him to come out and score 30 fantasy points. But anywhere between 17 to 20-something fantasy points at 6,800, I think I'm feeling okay. I don't hate it to just roll him out for the price. And that's really where I am.
What bothers me about Alcantara is his swinging strike rate's at 12.6% through 114 innings. Last year, he finished the season at 12.1. His strikeout rate was 23.4%. He's under 20%.
Yeah.
His BABIP is up, like you talked about. His ground ball rate is down 3 or 4%.
Yeah.
He's still not giving up a ton of home runs. The walks have been a little bit more of an issue, but we're looking at like his lowest strikeout rate since 2019 when he threw his full season. So I mean, looking at his advanced numbers, I've been doing it for months. I've been like, what am I missing? What am I missing? Like everything looks okay. He's too cheap. He has a big ceiling. He's too cheap. When he got down to 7K, it was like, all right, now I really, really got to just start plugging him in some places because
Yeah.
his ceiling's too high for 6,800 in any matchup. So I don't hate it. He's not my favorite. It's a 14-game slate. He has the ceiling to break the slate. He can go 3, 4, 5x against any team. So I think he's definitely worth mentioning and talking about today. Dean Kramer, he was someone that was starting to put it together a little bit here before the break. He is 7,100. He pitched fantastic against the Yankees last time out. He had a blemish against Minnesota, but 4 of his last 5 games, he's pitched really well. Kramer against the Marlins, thoughts?
Yeah, I like it. And this one isn't just a price play. This one is, and really, Stevie, it's interesting. It's kind of the whole Baltimore pitching staff. All these young guys, Kramer, Wells, Bradish, like they all kind of just somewhere in early June, end of May, they just all just kind of took off together. And I don't know if I don't know. I don't know if it was the coaching or the training, but either way, I'm saying that to say I don't mind Kramer in this spot at 7,100. I think he's got some upside as we've seen recently.
Yeah, I had so the RotoGrinders show I did Sunday for XM, and it was funny because we were talking about where you could potentially get, some edge or some value betting on like an American League winner or stuff like that. And I think Baltimore is one of those sneaky teams that can make a run here in the playoffs because, I mean, it just all depends on if they keep playing this well. But I definitely have interest in Kramer. His biggest issue has been home runs. I think that facing a Marlins team that doesn't have a ton of power is definitely beatable. So I think Dean Kramer very, very much in play here at 7,100 against Miami, assuming the weather's okay. Let's go Miami Bats. Jazz back on the IL. It was an oblique strain.
So sad. So sad.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a couple weeks too. It doesn't sound like he's going to be one of those. We're going to have a few like guys that got put on the IL right before the All-Star break, and then they are going to come back and be
i.e. Kershaw.
Yeah. Nailed it. Exactly the person I was thinking about. So I mean, Miami Bats, I definitely have interest in Soler. He's at 23 home runs on the season, but outside of him, I'm not stacking Miami in this spot.
Yeah, me either. 14-game slate. I don't want to pick on Kramer. It is a good spot. Like I get it, but in terms of the ballpark, but I'm not sweating it. Miami's going to be fine if I just fade them, I think.
Yep, that's kind of where I'm at. Baltimore Bats here. Any interest in Baltimore against Alcantara?
I mean, if you want to kind of sneakily maybe play some Henderson, who was kind of tearing the cover off the ball before the break, like I understand it. I don't hate it. I don't mind that one off. If you think Sandy's still broken, maybe you stack this team, but I don't think I want to stack them either. But I don't mind the Henderson one off. Like he was hitting for a lot of power before the break, and I think that's going to continue. I don't think that's a fluke.
Yeah, I mean, Alcantara one time this year has given up multiple home runs in a game, and it was right before the break against Atlanta, and we know how good the Atlanta offense is. So he's not a guy that typically will get blown up. He'll have a bad inning and give up a couple runs, but he's not someone that typically gives up like 6, 7, 8 runs. He's had some bad starts, but again, his advanced numbers look good. So I agree with you on Henderson, where just how he was hitting the ball right before the All-Star break. But I don't know if this is necessarily the spot I want to be looking at a lot of Miami Bats. San Francisco at Pittsburgh, 9 total in this game. Giants a 120 favorite. We got Stripling and our boy Rich Hill right off the break. Gotta love it. Thoughts here on Ross Stripling at 5,900?
No.
Yeah, I don't want to play him. I mean, listen, I get it. Pittsburgh, they're a mediocre offense at best. But Ross Stripling just hasn't been good. He's not pitching deep into games. I was shocked when I saw him as like the guy that's going to be the guy that's starting from the All-Star break. But he is, and it is what it is. But, yeah, let's talk the other side of this game. Rich Hill, 6K, Giants.
Nope. I'm not doing it, though. No,
oh, come on, Will.
Listen,
come on, Will.
Hey, Rich Hill is starting to come back down to earth. Like, even in an 8 strikeout game, Steve, he only put up 17 fantasy points. Like, this is what I've been expecting out of, Mr. Rich Hill. And I do mean that heavily because he is a lot older than most of the pitchers in the league. I think Rich Hill's like 43, 44. He might be 45, but like Rich Hill's old. He's done well for this season. He's been doing better than Wainwright. So look, he's been doing much better than Wainwright, Stevie. But I'm not playing Rich Hill today. I'm done. I'm done with Rich Hill.
Yeah, walks are the biggest concern when looking at Rich Hill. His walk rate has been the biggest issue. Helps a little bit. The Giants are not the best team in the world against left-handed pitching. Dude, I'd be lying to you if I said that I wasn't interested a little bit.
Oh no, I get it.
I've played some bad pitchers against the Giants this year, left-handed pitchers, and it's worked out. Rich Hill actually has some strikeout ability. It's just whether or not he can keep the walks in check. It's more of I want to see how the weather shapes up in a few places. But right now, like I'm not instantly Xing off Rich Hill. He's 6K. We're going to talk about some bats on the slate. I'm just setting you all up. The Yankees are in Coors against a lefty. We're just
Gomber at that, I think.
Yeah, I'm just saying we're going to pay up for some bats today. So leaving these cheap pitchers in my thought process, I think is okay. Any interest in the Giants bats here?
Yes, I don't mind the Giants, but that's because I think I'm less of a believer in Rich Hill than you are today. But it's really just because it's Rich Hill. It's not that I think the Giants are a crazy offense, but if like we've seen Rich Hill blow up a couple of times in the past 5 starts before the break. So it's really I'm really playing the Rich Hill blows up, they get to him early, and they score some runs.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem is the pinch hit risk because like Slater should hit leadoff, he's cheap. Flores should hit second or third, he's cheap. But yeah, I mean, overall, JD Davis would probably be my favorite. Him and like Patrick Bailey. Patrick Bailey is a huge talented prospect. He's eventually going to get it going. So yeah, I mean, I like Slater. He's going to project well. It's a good spot. But the pinch hit risk is always my biggest concern, especially if like Jock doesn't start. I feel like right when you get a Rocky or right-handed pitcher, Jock pinch hits for Slater, and you lose your at bats. But risk you're taking, I guess. Price kind of factors that in a little bit. Let's talk about Pittsburgh. I mean, Brian Reynolds is expensive, but outside of that, the rest of the stack's pretty cheap. Swazinski, 3,800. I always like him against right-handed pitching, especially a guy like Stripling who really doesn't get many people out. Henry Davis is 2,600. He should hit third or fourth in this lineup. Santana, Choi, not my favorite first baseman plays. So I think this is more of like a 3-man stack than anything else. I don't think I get to a full on stack for Pittsburgh today, especially with this game being in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I get that 100%. I think I'm just going to side with you and I'll leave it there.
We're moving on then. We got Arizona at Toronto. I am so excited for this baseball game. There's no total in this one. It sounds like it'll be Bassett. Nelson's pitching for
Arizona. That's what I think. That's what I got too.
Yeah. the books don't have any starting pitcher yet for Toronto, but everywhere I've seen it's going to be Bassett. So we'll go with that. Any interest here in Nelson going up against Toronto?
No.
Yeah, this is a quick pass for me too. Nelson's not someone that I feel like I've played at all, maybe in a couple spots and really good matchups, but Nelson, his advanced stats are not great. His strikeout rate's really low. He's struggling with walks and command. This is a bad spot for him.
Yeah.
Any interest in Bassett on the other side?
I don't want to play him either, Stevie. Like, Arizona has been a nightmare for teams. And I know as we got closer to the break, the Mets came into town and just kind of felt like every Mets pitcher picked up 7 or 8 strikeouts. But generally speaking, that's not who the Arizona Diamondbacks are. And so you've got Chris Bassett, who's already, his strikeouts did pick up, towards middle end of the season, but he's still not a guy that's like going to hit you for 6 or 7 every game. I'm not playing Bassett today. Like, I'd much rather play Sandy or Kramer even over Bassett. Like, it's going to be a tough spot for him if Arizona comes to town ready to play.
You know who one of my favorite stacks today. You already know. Anybody that listens to this podcast knows that I was going to come on here and say we need to play Arizona bats.
Oh, man. You do.
Yeah, Chris Bassett has pitched better at home this year. Mm-hmm. I don't love it. I don't love the home road splits when it comes to pitching. Listen, he has just gotten shelled by left-handed hitters all year, and this is a lineup that can get a lot of them in there. Corbin Carroll, Marte, Perdomo, yep. McCarthy, Alec Thomas. I'm probably missing somebody. But yeah, I overall Pavin Smith. I love Arizona bats in this spot. No interest in Bassett, ton of interest in the Arizona bats. I think they're one of the best pivots off of the Yankees today.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Like, this is a prime time spot, in my opinion, for Arizona. Really, outside of Carroll, Stevie, for the most part, like, and Marte, and Christian Walker, but outside of those 3, but you still got enough everywhere else. Like, if Pavin Smith is in there for whatever reason, he's 2,900. Perdomo's 45-ish, 45. Like, there's enough cheap bats to make this stack work and get 2 of your big bats. I love Arizona today.
I don't really have much else to add outside of the fact that I love Arizona. Yeah. Toronto bats. Nelson's very hittable. I think this is a great spot. Vlad with the home run derby win. That was really cool to see. After watching Julio's first round, I was like, nobody's touching this guy. It just looked a little gassed. Wasn't getting like as much good contact in that second round. But anyway, it was home run derby. Who cares? What are your thoughts here on the Toronto bats?
Yeah, Toronto is pretty much just a full-on stack spot. Like, I'm not a big believer in Nelson, and so, excuse me, when you've got basically this team that needs to continue to win games if they want to fight and really blow this division open. You got Vlad at 5,200, you got Witt at 43, Chapman at 48. Boba at 54. Obviously, Springer's leading up. They're expensive up top, but then they've still got some other guys. Like, if Varsho cracks the lineup, he's 3,300. Kiermaier 2,500 if they crack the lineup. And then all the catchers now are under 4K. So I like this spot for Toronto. I think they can put up some runs here.
Yeah, I like the Toronto side as well. Nelson's been a little bit better against right-handed hitters, and I could use air quotations because he's been really bad to both sides. His walk rate is much higher to lefties. His strikeout rate is much lower to lefties, but he really has struggled with both sides of the plate. So, love overall. Love the spot for this whole game. I think this is a game that we see a total open up around 9.5. I think this is going to be a high-scoring baseball game.
Yeah.
Milwaukee at Cincinnati, 10 total in this game. The Brewers a 10 favorite. We have Corbin Burnes pitching in a game in Cincinnati and the total is 10. If you don't believe in this young Reds team, I mean, you're behind because, I mean, Vegas does. Ashcraft pitching for Cincinnati. Corbin Burns just faced this team right before the break. He pitched okay. He has been pitching a little bit better. The command still is kind of all over the place. I hate pitchers facing teams back to back. Any interest in Corbin Burns here at 8,400 in Cincinnati?
So Steve, so this is where it's going to start to get interesting. Now we're playing the salary game versus the skills game, right? So Corbin Burns has been pitching better. He still hasn't been pitching elite in every spot. And so you've got a Cincinnati team that's at home. This is probably going to be one of the better hitting spots of the day in the Great American Small Park. I think at 8,400, even though he just faced him, Stevie, I'm interested. And that's kind of like, I think now we're getting into the too cheap range for his improvement throughout the season. Like if this was early in the season when he was just, I mean, really pitching terribly, I would probably be off of it. But like down the stretch here, Stevie, let's say mid-May to now, he's been much better. And I'm not saying he's going to. I'm saying it's in the cards. He could go 7 innings, 7 strikeouts, give up a run or two here, and come out with 25 fantasy points or so. I think he's just too cheap now for this spot. I'm in on Corbin Burns. I don't think he's where he was last year, but I definitely think he's been improving. I don't mind him at this price.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the upside is definitely there. Man, he's like you said, this is more of a price play.
Yeah.
He's worth consideration in 3-entry max. He's in your player pool in a 20-entry max, and he's definitely in your player pool in a 150-entry max. That's how I'm at with Burns. Like,
yeah,
when I'm building like my 3-entry max teams, he's really close to making 1 of 3, maybe even 2 of 3 at this price. But I mean, we'll talk about the Cincinnati bats. I definitely don't hate the Cincinnati bats. Burns' biggest issue has been home runs. This game's in small park, Cincinnati. So the other side of this game, we got Graham Ashcraft. I've played plenty of pitchers against Milwaukee this season. I don't think I'm going to play Ashcraft, especially in this ballpark. I don't love the offense, but I mean, this guy is just not a guy I want to sought out to play on a 14-game slate.
Yeah, I'm with you, Stevie. Like the thing about Ashcraft is he's giving up so many hits, and maybe some games he gives up 2 or 3, but like when you look across the season, he's pretty much an automatic 5 to 7 hits a game, like automatic. So when you're giving up that many hits all the time, like you're bound to get crushed. And so even though like you, I'm not crazy fond of the Milwaukee offense, they're in this good hitting environment, just like Cincinnati, and facing a worse pitcher than Cincinnati will be facing. So I won't be playing Ashcraft today.
Yeah, he's been awful at home too. If you like the home road splits, he's not been good. Milwaukee, they are cheap today. I am not a guy that usually plays this offense, but their implied team total is over 5. They're in the Great American Small Park. We know this is going to be a high-scoring game, just in general. Cincinnati bullpen, very middle of the road bullpen, but I mean they're cheap, dude. Like, yeah, you got to pay up a little bit for Yelich, Contreras, and Adames, but the rest of the team, like Winker, should hit 4th or 5th here. He's 2,500 against Ashcraft in this ballpark. We know what he's capable of in this ballpark, so I like the Milwaukee bats. Definitely in consideration for a full stack, but I mean, they're a great potential secondary stack at these prices too.
Yeah, I like it. And then, like you said, I mean, even Contreras at 44, Adames at 43, and Yelich at 46, that's really not crazy expensive considering what I feel like are really good mid to low tier pitching options in terms of price that we have today coming right off the break. So I'm with you. I am in on the full stack on Milwaukee for sure. Like this, I think it's a good spot for them, Stevie. I think they could put up 7-8 runs in this game if everything went well. if it went really well, they could go for 10 plus, depending on where guys are on the base paths when the hits come. So I love this spot because we know Ashcraft's going to give up hits. Like that's a given. It's just how many.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Man, tournament wise, Cincinnati is going to be very low owned today. They're facing Corbin Burns. They are extremely expensive. They are very hard to full stack because of how expensive they are.
And Burns' low price is going to keep them off the list, I think. Like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I think Burns is getting ownership today for what it's worth.
No, I do too. No doubt in my mind. Like, I'm not even thinking twice about it. So, yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those spots you're probably stacking if you're playing them. I'm definitely considering it. Like, this is one of those spots you're like, all right, well, if I'm stacking Cincinnati, Will Benson's going to be the chalky play because he's 2.5 or 2.6K. But, yeah, I mean, you're just going to have to look for some cheap pitching if you're stacking Cincinnati or a cheap secondary stack. You could stack this game. You could use 3 of the cheap guys from Milwaukee, stack up Cincinnati, and hopefully get one good pitcher at least. So I think it's a stack or fade spot for me, and I definitely have interest in, Burns' home run issues. Plenty of pop in this lineup. Yeah, ton of interest in the Cincinnati bats.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest with you, Steve, I think even though they're a little expensive, I feel like there are enough cheap bats to make it work. Like Nick Senzel's still under 4K. Friedel, as long as he's leading off, which I think he should still be leading off at this spot, he's 44. You talked about Benson at 26. Well, now it's just, do you want to play Ellie, and McLean? Do you want to play Ellie and India? Do you want to play India and McLean? Like, I think we got enough because Votto's still 4,400. Like, he's not crazy expensive overall. It's just those 3 big bats. So I'm with you. I don't think I'll play Cincinnati in a stack today with Burns. Like, I don't think that's something I'll do, but I do think both sides of this game are interesting because, Stevie, the other thing that can happen is Burns can essentially pitch 6 innings, 6 Ks. Maybe they run the pitch count up on him a little bit, and he gets through clean, and then the bullpen comes in and they just mashed him for 5 or 6 runs late. Like, that's also in the card. So I will be splitting them today because it's such a big slate, but I'm in on the Cincinnati stack for sure.
I just like the ownership that you're going to, like the potential ownership you're going to get them at makes me excited. I mean, that's the main thing for me here when looking at this team. So, all right, we got Dodgers heading to New York to face the Mets, not the Yankees. This game has an 8.5 total. Dodgers, a 125 favorite. Urias against Verlander. Any interest here in Julio Urias?
I'm really torn on this, Stevie, because I'm just not sure which Julio I'm going to get. And so I think for that reason, that's why I'm going to let him sit on the shelf. Like, I think that's the only thing. Other than that, I think he's been fine overall this year. Like, I know he's come off the injury and, hasn't really been past 90 pitches in those first 2 starts, but he was on a good ramp up. Faced Kansas City, 66 pitches, then Pittsburgh, 88 pitches, had 8 strikeouts in that game. Like, I think he's going to be fine, but I'm still just unsure which version I'm going to get. So I'm going to pass, but I don't think he's I don't think he's going to get blown up or anything, but I'm just not interested in playing him.
I think that, obviously a spot that is beatable. I mean, you're worried about Alonso, Marte, Alvarez. Pham is actually, he was hitting decently too. I don't know what his ceiling is. Like, yeah. I think we kind of saw his ceiling last time out. He was pitching phenomenal against Pittsburgh. They yanked him at 88 pitches. He had a great game. Real big fantasy day. That's like a ceiling game. I mean, we saw him earlier this year before the injury absolutely dominate Philadelphia. He was in the 90 pitch range then. They really haven't let him touch that yet.
Yeah.
I think I need to see him throw like 95 before I'm like 7 pitches. People are like, oh, well, it's only 7 pitches. 7 pitches is another potential strikeout or 2, really.
Well, and Stevie, the other thing too is depending on where he's at in the inning, that 7 pitches can become 10 pitches.
Yep.
Like if he's at 6 2/3 and he's at 92 pitches,
and he gets another lefty,
it's like he's going. They're going to let him go. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get 5 or 6 more pitches in that scenario. So,
yeah.
Other side of this game, Verlander 8K against Dodgers. He just really hasn't shown that ability to go out and dominate a good offense yet. And I mean, even in this ballpark, I don't want to play Verlander against the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm with you. And he's 8K, Stevie. If this was Verlander from, let's call it 3 years ago, I think we at 8K we'd be almost on the lock button. But he's not that guy anymore. He's an aged Verlander that can still pitch well, but he's not elite anymore. Kind of reminded me of Corey Kluber, where Klubot was elite. Corey Kluber is now non-existent in the elite category. And I feel like that's where Verlander is headed, even though he's had an immaculate career.
Bats in this one. Any interest in the Dodgers?
Yes. I think this is a good spot for them. We've seen Verlander be able to – he's been hittable this season. If anybody can get to him, it's absolutely this offense. And while we may have been slightly down on them, this offense has come through, Stevie. A lot of the pieces have come together for them. JD Martinez has been hitting well down the stretch here, where Outman maybe and Peralta haven't maybe given them exactly what they were looking for down the stretch. JD has stepped up. Jason Hayward continues to hit well on the cheap end. So I like the Dodgers. I think it's a good sneaky stat for this particular slate.
Yeah, they were really good right there before the break. I hate the ballpark. I really do. I mean, that's that downside. I think there's 2 downsides. And price isn't one of them. I think it's easy to make the stack work. There's Hayward's cheap, Peralta's cheap, Outman's cheap. It's really easy to make a Dodger stack work. The 2 downsides I'm going to say here. 1, Citi Field. 2, Verlander is not a guy that typically gives up a lot of home runs. He's given up 1 home run in his last 5 starts. 1 home run total in his last 5 starts. Earlier this year, he was getting beat around a little bit. It was right when he came back from injury. He just hasn't been giving up a ton of home runs. So while I think the Dodgers are a sneaky stack, and I think they could break a slate on any slate, I think this is a spot I might leave him on the bench on a 3 entry max. I probably have him in my pool in a 150 entry max. I like to kind of, give my thoughts both ways. Yeah. Mets bats, honestly, I mean, Pete Alonso at 5,100, I think you can always play Pete Alonso against the lefty. Outside of that, Alvarez is kind of cheap. Pham is, kind of cheap. Not going out of my way to play these guys against Urias. Any interest here in the Mets?
Nah. I mean, I think you can one off Alonso, obviously. Outside of that, I think I'm okay, Stevie. I think I'm just going to let them sit there. I'm not going to worry about it. I think I'm good.
Caught me mid-yawn. We're back, baby. White Sox and Braves, 9.5 total in this game. Braves a 255 favorite. We got Kopech against Morton. Kopech coming off the IL. He went on the IL end of last month, so he's only been out a few weeks here. I did not see if he made a rehab start. I couldn't find anything. So listen, chat always has my back. That's why I love YouTube chat, but I wasn't able to find anything. Maybe he did, maybe he hasn't. Either way, he's 8,500 going into Atlanta to face one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in baseball.
Yeah.
This is an easy spot to fade for me.
Come on, man. I'm not picking on my team with Kopech. Now, I will say if this was Dylan Cease, who I think we'll get are we getting Lynn tomorrow? Where we seeing? I think we will get Cease in this contest, I think, in this series. We'll probably get him Sunday. No, maybe Saturday. Either way, bottom line is I'm not taking Kopech. Not doing it. This offense is this to me. This has been a generational offense, Steve. Like seriously, it's been really good. I can't do it.
Any interest in Morton against the White Sox at 9K?
I don't hate it. Like, he's another guy, Stevie, one of these old guys where I feel like he's been kind of the consistent one out of the bunch. Like, started out the season, just had some cobwebs, but since then, like, he's pretty much leveled out. Like, you know what you're going to get from him. He's going to mostly go 6 innings or a little bit more than that. He's got a leash. Like, unless he's getting absolutely destroyed, he's going to be between 90 to a little over 100 pitches. And he's typically going to limit the damage, not going to get blown up. I like him at 9K.
Yeah, he's kind of like a fringe play for me. It really depends on it really depends on like what we're looking at weather-wise on some of these other games. If the weather breaks where we don't have to worry about it as much for some of these top-end guys, I think that is where he becomes more playable. I mean, we have some really good spots today that we haven't even got to yet. Castillo's getting Detroit. Glasnow's getting Kansas City.
I've already hit Glasnow in the prop world, by the way. Came in at 7.5. I said, sign me up. Sign me up.
Will's like, I'm not even waiting. I'm getting my fantasy pick 'em in now.
Yeah, I had to get it. Because by the time I wake up tomorrow, it's going to be at 8. No doubt about it.
I think he's over 8, 3 straight starts, right? I think anyway, we'll get there.
Sorry.
I'm getting sidetracked just as much as you. And as I said a few minutes ago, we're back, baby. All right. I don't think I think Morton is like a fringe play. That's where I'm at. I think it really depends on some of the weather that we have today. He's not a bad play. I'm not going out of my way to play the White Sox bats. And Luis Robert was dealing with like some kind of like calf injury during the home run derby. Like, that's not what you want to see when you have one of your star players that has finally stayed healthy. He's put together such a fantastic season. You're like, man, hopefully this is not something. But
could you imagine if him, Eloy, and Moncada stayed healthy for like 2 or 3 seasons straight? But they never do. It's like at least 2 of them are out, feels like all the time.
We could keep going. We could go Kopech, Giolito, Cease. I mean,
yeah.
The White Sox don't run good when it comes to injuries, but any interest in the White Sox bats here? They're cheap against Morton.
I don't want to do it, Stevie. I trust Morton more than I trust the White Sox.
Kind of where I'm at as well. Atlanta, I said earlier that Arizona is one of my favorite stacks off of the Yankees. Atlanta's my favorite stack on the slate.
Yeah.
Favorite stack on the slate, not just off of cores. My favorite stack of the slate. I love the Atlanta Braves today.
Yeah, man. I'm not sure if you guys like Pringles, but I do. And I love the Cheesums version. That's my favorite version. And you just stack up the Pringles and keep eating. And that's what I feel like the Braves. Just stack up the Braves and keep eating. Like every slate. Just do it. You won't be disappointed long term. There are going to be games where they don't score a lot of runs, but this team is just so potent, Stevie. And really, Stevie, they're potent top to bottom now. Like, you can't really poke too many holes in the offense. Like, because when you get to the bottom, you've got Acuna, you've got Rosario, you've got Harris. Like, you can't really pitch around this team in the middle of the order. Well, and they've moved Albies up, but you've got oh my God, you've got Riley. You've got Arcia, who's not really a high strikeout guy. Like, that's kind of the middle. Like, it's just nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to hide. So stack the Braves every slate, especially this slate.
Yeah, beginning of the year, you were hiding between like Ozuna. Ozuna has 17 home runs. Do you remember?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Do you remember when we were talking about how they should DFA him?
And he got hot, and he stayed hot.
He has 17 home runs. Like, where, like, man, where did it come from? Like, it was, I feel like we were just talking about him having 1 or 2 home runs, and he's just been absolutely incredible here.
It started
recently
with his hitting streak. So he just kind of started hitting, right? Like, he started getting hits, singles, double, and then all of a sudden, out of here. Like, this is the Ozuna I remember from Miami, Stevie, when Stanton was there, and they were just hitting bombs. Like, this is It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you mentioned it. There's just not a weak spot. There's just no weak spot. Orlando Arcia, you nailed it. He's the weakest spot, and he doesn't strike out. So
right.
the weak. So anyway, love Atlanta today. Gosh, they're so good. Must be nice. My team's not great. Cleveland at Texas.
This is the only sports team I root for that wins. The Corners don't win. The Panthers have been terrible. At least give me my baseball. I'm happy.
Oh yeah, I mean, Cleveland at Texas. We have an 8.5 total in this game. The Rangers at 156 favorite over the Guardians. We have Savali against Gray. Any interest here in Aaron Savali?
No. I mean, he mowed down Kansas City right before the break, I think, Steve. You're close.
He did. I don't remember who it was on the podcast with me that day. It might have been you, but I hope
it
people
was
listen.
me. I think it was me, and I was like, I can't.
I didn't even text you and make fun of you that day. I felt so bad that he went so bonkers in that game.
He went nuts.
Yeah.
And the thing was, he was like 5.5 on the sports books, and I was like, I know it's Kansas City, but I can't do it. And I think he got down to 5 on like the pick'em sites, and I was like, nah, I can't do it. And I looked at the end of the night and I said it was Kansas City. I should have known better than it. Like I tricked myself too much because of who he was, but he was facing Kansas City. I can't do it against Texas though. I definitely not playing him against Texas. This is a totally different scenario.
Oh yeah. Hopefully people chase that game. I was on it, and I couldn't hit X faster this time. I do, however, in large field tournaments, have a little interest in John Gray. This Cleveland team's not great. They're a bottom 10 offense. They don't strike out a ton. They have no power. There's no power. Will they have 39 home runs against right-handed pitching this season? That's the lowest by 13. Like 13. Washington has 52. We know how much, like, no little power whatsoever. It's just they have not hit home runs this year. And John Gray
almost has as many home runs as their whole team against right-handed pitching. If that makes you feel any better.
It's wild. So
yeah.
I have a little interest in John Gray. Again, this is more of let's see how some of the weather shakes up, because I mean, coming into the slate, for what it's worth for everybody, there's like 7 or 8 potential weather spots. Kevin Roth's going to be super busy on Friday. So while I keep saying like we'll have to see how the weather shakes up, we're going to break down the game, but just know like my thought process is let's see where the weather shows up. Like if I had to choose between like John Gray and Glasnow, I know price isn't close, but it's an easy decision, right? So anyway. Will, what are your thoughts on John Gray before we move on to the bats?
I'm just fading him because Cleveland just doesn't strike out enough for me. But that's the only reason. Like I don't feel like they're going to rattle off. I don't even think they're going to rattle off 5 runs. But the low strikeouts they just have me disinterested in Gray.
All right, let's talk bats. Guardians. Jose Ramirez is 6K. I'm out. I'm fading this team. No chance.
Yeah.
Bo Naylor is 2,700 if you want to play a catcher with a little bit of pop. He hasn't shown up yet, but he'll eventually show up to the bigs. It'll happen eventually. Any interest in the Texas bats here?
I do have some interest because I'm not a big believer in Savale. It's just kind of more of a stack spot. Like, this team's just been hitting so well, man. They're expensive. And I feel like Texas has kind of ended up being my expensive team that I play when nobody else plays, because you got the Braves, you've got the Coors game, you've got Toronto and Arizona. Like, so I feel like they're going to be the odd team out. And I think for that reason, I want to get in on them. They're at home. They've been playing well. So I just want to kind of stack them and get different in tournaments.
Yeah, definitely. If you're attacking him, I mean, just play the better bats. His splits are very neutral. So just play the guys that you like from Texas. Boston at Chicago taking on the Cubs. I did see like a 9.5 total in this one. We are supposed to have like 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out the center with some potential rain in this one. So, yeah, it's Bayo against Hendricks. Any interest here in Brian Bayo?
I was close on this one, Stevie. Because he's a guy he's pitched fairly well this season. And down the stretch here, what I like, Steve, is we've got a leash. So, I mean, we're seeing him in the mid-90s to over 100 pitches almost every game now. And the Cubs aren't a team that I'm like super afraid of. At 7,700, I think I have some interest. If I'm playing 150, definitely. If I'm at 20 entry max, maybe I get him in 2 to 3. If I'm 3 entry max, I'm not playing him at all. But like I think 20 entry max to large field, I think you need to get some. Like he could get you 25 points in this spot. If everything goes correct.
Yeah, he's given up 1 home run in his last 7 starts. He's been pitching phenomenal here recently. He's had some good matchups. He pitched against Texas last time out. He gave up 8 hits, only 2 earned runs, had 3 strikeouts in that game. That's one of the better offenses in baseball against right-handed pitching.
Right.
They rank second right now. So he is someone that is extremely talented. I definitely think he's in play today. The wind blowing out in Wrigley, always concerning. So I'll definitely be paying attention to Weather Edge and Roth in this one, but interested in Bayo for sure. I am no chance I'm touching Kyle Hendricks today.
No.
We don't have to get silly, people. All right. Boston bats, definitely, like if we're going to have a little bit of wind in Wrigley, Hendricks, he tries to generate ground balls. It hasn't worked as well this year as it has in the past. I think Boston's definitely in play today. Like the lefties more than the righties.
Yeah. That's Stevie, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, give me Yoshida, give me Verdugo, give me Devers. Let's play feud. I want the lefties.
Hey, you know that guy Devers is really good at baseball, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the one guy I have. You have like 6 guys for Atlanta where you have like franchise players. I have Devers. I like Yoshida.
Yoshida's on the way. I think he's on the way. If he keeps hitting well, I think he's going to turn out to be a good guy.
Duran has been great in the leadoff spot. If he hits leadoff at 3,600, we definitely should have mentioned him.
Yeah, for sure.
He's been great. So like the Sox. Any interest in the Cubbies bats here?
I think if you feel like the win is going to be a big factor, which it absolutely will be if they're playing, then I think at that point for me, I might be mini stacking the Cubs, but I'm not going to do it against Bello. I'm just going to. I'll kind of one off them. Like Wisdom strikes out a lot, but he's got a lot of power. Maybe play a little bit of Bellinger, stuff like that. But like I'm not excited about stacking the Cubs. But if the wind's blowing out, I think you can piece together some mini 2 to 3 mans just in case.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people approach this game if it's like windy in Wrigley because there's so many good spots on this slate. So, I mean, a spot you could potentially get a little different today. I don't hate it.
Let me ask you a quick question. I know we're almost to the end, which is freaking amazing. Do you think Wrigley wind will impact Coors enough?
No.
Like if it's like definitive, like okay, it's blowing out. Well, and it's a 14-game slate, so it doesn't really matter as much today. If this was 6-game slate, maybe we talk more about it.
Going back to my original thought on game 1 or 2, the Yankees are facing a bad lefty in Coors today.
Yeah.
And they're not expensive.
Yeah.
Yankees are going to be the highest owned stack for sure today.
Automatic X button for me, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Tampa Bay at Kansas City. 9.5 total in this one. The Rays are a 3-10 favorite in this game. Glasnow and Marsh.
They should be.
Glasnow, really should be. Yeah. Glasnow, I think he's top arm on the slate today, just given the matchup. We'll have to see what the weather does here. This is one of the potential weather spots. I don't want to mention all of them because, like I said, there's like half the games today have potential weather. If the weather's okay, I mean, Glasnow's a top arm on the slate. Probably my favorite. I mean, Ohtani gets Houston. It's a little bit tougher matchup. Castillo, if you factor in price, maybe Castillo over Glasnow, but I think your chalky pitcher build today is Glasnow Castillo. What are your thoughts on Glasnow against Kansas City?
Yeah, I definitely think Glasnow is the premier arm on the slate. We saw Castillo kind of struggle down the stretch at the end of getting closer to the All-Star break. Now, he did face a couple good teams. And like you talked about Ohtani, I do think Houston is one of those teams, Stevie, that started hitting better towards the break. So started giving teams a lot more trouble than they had been. Obviously, they had a couple guys come back. But I think Glasnow is the premier arm. If I'm going to spend up on anybody, it's him. Like he's the number one guy for me, hands down today, no doubt about it.
Alec Marsh. This is a talented young pitcher. He's not ready yet. This is a terrible spot for him. Don't play him today.
I'm with you 100%.
Tampa Bats.
I also think you'll get a couple strikeouts, but I don't think we need to play him for DFS.
We should note that Yandy Diaz was placed on paternity list on Thursday. He definitely won't be back for this game. They did say Saturday or Sunday, so he'll be out of the lineup. We potentially get a cheaper bat in here. We'll see who it is, but any interest in the Tampa Bats here?
I don't hate it. 'Cause like I said, they've got a couple of cheap pieces there, like Kiermaier. He's very cheap. Not Kiermaier. Jesus, I said Kiermaier. I meant. I wonder if Margot's going to play. I want to see who they're going to play. Like I know Rayleigh's going to play. I'm not worried about him. Franco's going to play. He's expensive. Paredes is probably going to play. He's cheap at 3,900. Brandon Lau at 3,900 he might be a chalky second baseman today. He probably will be at that price. He's cheap. I wonder who they're going to use I'm really trying to think about who they're going to use to replace Yandy.
Probably Arnada. He's minimum salary. He got the call up Thursday when Diaz went on the paternity list. So Jonathan Arnada is 2K, first base, third base eligibility. Yeah. Hey, he's 2K.
Yeah, I like this stack for sure.
So yeah, I was going to mention him, and then Brandon Lau. You talked about him. Love that price tag. Luke Riley is another guy that I really like, and then getting
he's got speed too.
Yeah, two of Franco, Rosarina, and Lowe. So any of those, two of those cheap bet. But I mean, this is a team with a 6 implied team total, 6.1 really. And they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna have as much ownership today because of some of these spots. So definitely like Tampa as a stack. I have zero interest in Kansas City. This team's bad.
Nope, don't like that.
We're moving on. We're moving on. No, you gave it a no. Use your no. We're moving on. Washington at St. Louis. No total in this game. It does sound like Trevor Williams will start.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. Miles Mikolas starting for St. Louis.
Doesn't matter.
Any interest in Trevor Williams here?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass. Mikolas, not a really high strikeout pitcher, low strikeout team. He goes out and he probably throws 6 or 7 good innings here, but he doesn't have the upside we're looking for on a 14-game slate.
Nope, not playing him either.
Washington bats, no power here, man. What we talk about with like Cleveland, there's just no power in this lineup.
Not playing Washington.
I like the Cardinals, Will. I like the pain. I like the pain. I bet the Cardinals to win this division because it was ridiculous. Dude, they're gonna turn it on, or we might be seeing like the Cardinals move some players because this team has way too much talent to be where they're at right now in the season.
Yeah, I like this stack. I hate my boy Edmund when it was on the IL. I hate it, but maybe he should be back soon. But Newt Barr, he's going to be in play for sure. I'm pretty sure DeYoung's going to play today. He's 3K. Then you got Gorman at 4,400. You got Arenado, who's cheap. You've got Burleson at 2,100 if he cracks the lineup like this. I think they're cheap enough to get them in, Stevie, to get a stack in. So I like St. Louis here big time.
All right, let's talk cores. Yankees and Rockies. Rodon against Gomber. 12 total. Yankees a 210 favorite. Any interest in Carlos Rodon at 8,500?
No, but only because I want to. This is going to be a game I want to watch and just see how he's doing, Stevie. And I think we kind of talked about it the last start when he's facing the Cubs, and it was just kind of I was just going to stay away because of him just coming back, and I'm going to take the same approach here. But that's the only reason why. We see him come back and get rolling. He's going to be a good play for us, but not today.
I talk about this all the time. Typically, as someone that pitched for a long time, when you're coming back from injury, it's 10 to 12 pitches increase every time you throw 5 to 6 days. He threw 58 pitches in his rehab stint. He threw 69 pitches his first time out. I get him around 80 pitches here.
Yep.
8,500 in cores, 80 pitches. I'm going to pass today.
Yeah.
So I just don't see the upside. Had he been fully stretched out in this game in Yankee Stadium, the Rockies are awful against left-handed pitching. Maybe I get there, but I don't think I could do it today. He just didn't look dominant in that start either. Like, he just didn't have dominating stuff, and the Cubs are not the best offense in the world.
Yeah. I give him 4 to 5 starts. And I
we'll
think
be playing him by the end of the year.
Yeah. He'll be ready to go, I think. So that's where I am. Well, and really, Steve, it depends on the matchup, and it depends on how this start looks. Like, what? So let's say he goes 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, 80 pitches, gives up a run or two. Like, the next start, that means he's probably 90-ish pitches, and possibly against in a better spot. Maybe he's at home or on the road in a good ballpark. Like, that's going to make it more interesting. But I'm with you. I'm not playing him, and I'm not playing Comper either.
Yeah, we're not playing Gomber. That's just silly. Don't do silly things. Listen, if he's the ultimate leverage play, if he somehow beats the Yankees, but he is not good, and he's even worse at home. Yeah. Yankees bats. I mean, obviously Torres is one of the top hitters, if not the top hitter on the slate today.
He's my favorite hitter on this team all year.
You know who my favorite hitter today, if you're factoring in price? Bader. He's way too cheap today, facing a lefty in course. So like that price tag. Volpe was hitting the ball really well here right before the break. Hopefully he can keep it rolling. He's 4K. He has upside. Donaldson's too cheap. LeMahieu's too cheap. Whoever they catch is too cheap. The Yankees are too cheap, and I know you love fading cores. You're getting max leverage today because, I mean, it is way too easy to fit the Yankees in today.
Yeah, I'm fading them out of principle. It's got nothing to do with the spot. They should smash here. And so today, Stevie, I'm kind of fading them for the reverse reason. So typically the reason I fade Coors is because all the bats are priced up. Today, I'm going to have to fade them because everybody's priced down. Like, they are too cheap for this spot, and I think that's going to increase the ownership, and I'm going to be fading them.
Yeah, they're talking in YouTube chat about Glass now and his ownership. I don't think it gets to the 60% mark.
Oh, no. Nowhere near that, I don't think.
Not in the 3-inch max contest today. There's too many good pitchers. It's a 14-game slate. Too much weather concerns. So I don't think he'll get that high. I mean, I could be wrong because I do think the spot is phenomenal.
I don't think he gets to 60, though. Like, it's too many pitchers.
At the 14-game slate, we don't typically see pitchers get over 35, 40%. But I mean, it's happened, and the spot definitely warrants it. It really depends on are some of these games getting rained out? Are we worried about rain coming 3 innings in? I mean, Roth, like I said, he's gonna be busy tomorrow. Hope he enjoyed his few days off. Rockies bats. Oh man, CJ Cron will. I don't know what to do with him. He's 3,900.
He's cheap.
He's cheap. Yankees bullpen's so good. I hate stacking against the Yankees. The price for CJ Cron just jumps off the page today.
Well, I don't think I'm going to play this team out of principle. And this doesn't have anything to do with Coors. This just has to do with the fact that they stink. Although I will say I do think having Crone and having Bryant back helps. Right, I'm not trying to diminish, how I feel about them personally. Like I do think those guys are okay hitters. They get Charlie Blackmon back, like they'll probably be a little bit better even there as well. But I just out of principle of how bad this team has been, I'm just not playing the Rockies.
Yeah, to give everybody an idea, this is a team that plays half their games in cores. They have a 64 WRC plus against left-handed pitching this season. That's 19 points lower than Minnesota and 36 points lower than league average. They play half of their games in cores.
Yep.
Oh.
So bad.
Houston at LA taking on the Angels. 8 total in this game. Ohtani and France facing off against each other. Ohtani 156. We should mention that FanDuel has Ohtani as a hitter today. You cannot play him for pitcher points today. You can only play him for hitter points today. DraftKings, you're playing him as a pitcher, not a hitter. So make sure you know that when you're going into both sites. There's a note on the FanDuel site that says it. So just doing my due diligence as a host to keep you all updated. Any interest here in JP France at 8,500?
No.
I don't know if he necessarily has the upside to win us a slate on a 14-game slate. I think he pitches okay, but I don't see him going 30 plus. So Ohtani on the other side of this game, we know the games that he's capable of on the hill. Tough matchup against Houston. I did read a report that Alvarez is going to start a rehab assignment today, Friday, but he won't be called up. We'll probably get him back next week sometime. So he'll still be out of this lineup. I mean, Altuve's off on the IL. Like, I don't know, man. I guess Altuve could be activated today, so he'll probably be back. He was an all-star break. I forgot. He was an all-star break injury list. What are your thoughts here on Ohtani?
I think I'm going to fade him today, Stevie. I do feel like Houston started hitting better and they kind of turned the corner. And like Ohtani's, he's Ohtani. He's still elite. I don't think he's going to have a game with a lack of strikeouts. But I do feel like Houston's figured something out here with this lineup. And so while I'm not going to be playing Houston bats, I think Ohtani's upside may be limited a little bit here. So that's really where I'm at. I think Glasnow is the premier arm, and with all these other pitchers that I want to mix and match, like the in the 8.7 and 8K range, I think I'm just going to pass on Ohtani because I don't think he outscores Glasnow straight
up. Any interest in the Houston bats?
No.
And I guess I should have mentioned, I do think that Ohtani is a really good tournament pivot off of Glasnow. I do think that if you want to be different today, you could play both of them. I could see a scenario of them scoring 60 combined points today. Angels bats. Any interest in the Angels here?
Yeah, I don't hate the Angels. I know Trout is out, but overall, I think there's still some quality here. You still got Renfroe. You still got a couple of these guys. So I don't mind them. They got Escobar to come into town as well. So yeah, I don't hate them, but I don't want to stack them up. Maybe some one-offs.
Yeah. I mean, on FanDuel, I think you could play Ohtani if you wanted to as a hitter. But overall, on DraftKings, I mean, no Trout, can't play Ohtani. Where's the bats? I'm not doing it. Maybe Moniak because the guy is a beast and he's so underrated. Minnesota at Oakland. This game does not have a total. It sounds like it'd be Paul Blackburn, but that just came out here a little while ago. And then Maeda is starting for Minnesota.
Yeah, I thought it was Pablo earlier when I was looking at the MLB starting lineups, but I'm saying they switched it. But
Yep. Both of these pitches were kind of. That's why there's no line out for this game yet.
Yeah.
Maeda 7,700 against Oakland.
I like it.
I do too, man. He has taken advantage of good matchups. He's dominated Kansas City and Detroit over the last month. He's still capable of having these big games. He's still not giving up home runs. It's a good ballpark. Yeah, I like Maeda a lot today.
Yeah, 7,700. We got us some options today, Stevie, for under 7K to get 6 strikeouts, and I know Maeda's, 7,700, but we got some good options in this lower range today. Love Maeda. He's a favorite of mine on this slate for sure.
Yeah,
another way for us to play Texas, Atlanta, so forth and so on.
I love playing pitchers against Minnesota, but I'm not playing Paul Blackburn.
Nope, don't like that.
All right, Minnesota bats.
I think they're just stacked, Stevie. Like I don't trust Blackburn, but like when you got this team, so yeah, Buxton is 5,600. Joey Gallo now down to 3K. Kepler 2,700.
Yeah, they're so cheap.
Correa 45. Like this, I think this is too cheap against a bad pitcher, Stevie. Like they're not facing Ohtani. Like this is. All these guys, I think, should be at least 3,500 or more. I think you stack Minnesota. They're too cheap.
Yeah, if you have an offense that you're looking at today that you like are just in love with the 3 outfielders, this is your secondary stack, man.
Yeah,
you could play Correa, Julian, and Kirilloff, and it makes the stack so cheap. Like Kirilloff is 2,400 today against Paul Blackburn.
Julian 31.
Yeah, he's cheap too. I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on Minnesota. I think they're more of a secondary stack for me than a full-on stack, just because this game's in Oakland. But yeah, I like this spot. They're cheap. They're too cheap.
Yeah.
Any Oakland bats that you like here?
Nope.
It's kind of where I'm at. With Ruiz on the IL, I think that it's not like a all-star break IL too. I think it was like a big shoulder injury for Ruiz, which kind of stinks because I mean, when's the last time we were looking at a guy that had the potential to steal 100 bases?
Yeah, and he's definitely on the list. Like
I think he was gonna put a run for its money on that 100 stolen bases. But anyway, yeah. What's the home run record for stolen bases in a single? I know it's Ricky Henderson. Is it like 130, 129? I think it's 130.
I don't remember.
I think it's 130.
Here's what I will say, Stevie.
YouTube will tell us.
This is a low throwback, and I know we got to get out of here. Can you imagine if Billy Hamilton was coming up to play like right now versus like his segment of time when he was at Cincinnati? I mean, he might have like legit had a chance to like get there. I mean, because Billy Hamilton was just flat out flying at one point, Stevie. Like, we'd play him for the walker, the single, and the 2 stolen bases we knew he was going to get, like, right away. That's why we were playing him out there in Cincinnati. So, man, timing is everything sometimes when you're an athlete. Timing is everything.
Oh, yeah. Let's move on. Last game of the slate. We got Detroit at Seattle. 7 total, lowest total on the slate. Mariners are 198 favorite. Rodriguez against Castillo. Eduardo 9,700. Eduardo's 7,700, and he's so much more interesting. And like you have to put thought process into playing him here. But the fact that they priced him to 9,700, I know he's had some big games this year. I can't do this price. I like the matchup. Seattle's a team I love to pick on. They strike out at a very, very high clip. But 9,700 for Eduardo Rodriguez, what are they doing?
Yeah, I'll just catch him in the pick'em streets, Stevie. Not in DFS.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Castillo, I mean, you don't get many better spots than getting Detroit. I mean, this is a great spot for Luis Castillo today.
Yeah, if he doesn't get it done today, Stevie, and he's been priced down because of the spots. But Stevie, look at who he faced the last couple games right before the break: Houston, Tampa Bay, Washington. Okay, I'll give him a pass on those. And even in the Houston game, he didn't get strikeouts. He still went 7 innings, Stevie. That was on 89 pitches. So he had the upside because he had been over 100 pitches in several games. He had the upside to go 8 innings. They just pulled him. I think this is too cheap for Luis Castillo. Maybe they got it wrong. Maybe E-Rob was supposed to be 89 and Castillo was supposed to be 97, and they just can't fix it, and we just get the benefit. That has to be what happened here.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm joking, but yeah, it's too cheap.
His price has gone down a little bit here, but I mean, this is a guy that should really never be under 9K. I know he's only 8,900, but he should never be. He really should probably never be under 9,500. But
right, I'm with you.
Any interest in the Detroit Bats?
No.
I'm with you. Any interest in the Seattle Bats?
No.
I mean, I think you can play Julio Rodriguez. Maybe the All-Star break gets him going. He's had a disappointing year. All right, morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here. Only an hour and 12 minutes so far. I feel like we did good. 14 games. I think we did it. We did it. Morning grind game. Then we'll get out of here. Give me a guy under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts. And I was right. Dave just said Ricky Henderson, 130 stolen bases. I knew it was Henderson. I thought it was 130. If you ever have like a local bar that has trivia, just call me. When it comes to baseball, my baseball trivia game is on point. Movie trivia, awful. Baseball trivia, NASCAR trivia, I got your back.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I think we got a couple options here. I'm gonna go with. I mean, give me Maeda, man. It's got to be Maeda in this spot at 7,700.
I'm gonna go Bayo.
I like it.
My other thought process was Kramer, one of those two guys.
Kramer was my other as well.
Now that we're done with the slate, a lot less interest in Rich Hill, a lot more interest in Kramer. For what it's worth, over 8K to score under 15. Who's your bust today?
Oh man, it gotta be Michael Kopech. Gotta be.
Yeah, tough spot. I'll go. I think I'll have to go Carlos Rodon on this one. Michael says, "Who gets this great content and complains about the time? No one. I was just saying. I think we did great. People don't complain about the time of the morning grind. Thank you for the great comment about great content. Over 4K to hit a home run, not in Coors. Will, who is going Yaks today?
So many great options, Stevie.
There's a lot of them.
Give me Corbin Carroll.
Get out of my house. Oh,
I mean, come on, man. It's like Arizona. It's one of my favorite teams today.
This guy. Oh, man. You know what? Give me Matt Olson. I'm so happy, by the way, and you should be happy as a Braves fan that he turned down the home run derby. Good for him. Keep it going, Matt. You're crushing.
Yeah.
I hope you hit a home run. I hope you hit 2 and put it in Will's face for taking Corbin Carroll. Under 4K to get 2 hits. Give me a cheap bet that you like to get 2 hits today.
Steve, they're going to keep giving it to me. I'm going to keep taking it. Give me my boy Ozuna at 3,900. It's terrible. Terrible.
I like that one. I'm going to go Swazinski. We briefly talked about Pittsburgh today. Stripling is bad. Swazinski just continues to hit the ball really well. He's 3,800. I like Swazinski to get 2 hits today.
I like it. Give
me a stack not named Atlanta, Arizona, Coors. Who's getting 6 or more runs today?
Oh man, give me Texas. Those are my boys. That's my sneaky team every day.
I like it. And I don't want to take Tampa either. I do think Tampa would be low today. I like Tampa. Give me Tampa. I'm going to say Tampa. I love this spot for Tampa today. The more I think about Tampa, the more they're really, really interesting. And like, man, if the Yankees don't go bonkers and cores, they're not winning the slate with a couple home runs today. Like, there's way too much offense today.
Yep.
Fun slate. I mean, now that we're done and we broke down the slate, gave our first look thoughts. Fun slate. A lot of different ways to build pitching. A lot of different ways to build hitting. I mean, we're done, Will. Do you have take your pick'em tomorrow at 10:30?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
all right.
Every weekday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just come check me out. I know some of you may be working, but a lot of people catch the replay in their cars or in the RotoGrinders video channel or in the app via the podcast channel. It's up there. And hopefully people have been following Steve. They've been following this month. We're hot, brother. And not just with Take Your Pick'em. I'm putting out Prize Picks videos every Monday and Thursday, and I mean, pretty much undefeated this month. Like, so just it's baseball season. We're 10-3 on the month on Take Your Pick'em right now, and that's with the week off. So come hang out. Let's make some money.
Get in the game. Get in the Pick'em Streets game. That's going to wrap it up here for Friday. We appreciate everyone hanging out with us on YouTube. If you're not watching live, hey, subscribe to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind YouTube page. We're at 641 subscribers, so thank you, everybody. We're well on our way to getting to the 1,000 mark before the end of the year, which was the goal for me. So appreciate everyone for that. We'll be back on Monday talking baseball. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you on Monday.